Welcome to the Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode. Now, this week's episode is one straight from the chair. I am back in the salon, as some of you may well know already, and I am loving being back doing clients. I am a salon hairdresser through and through. I love doing my clients. I love being in the salon. It is my sacred home. So I am very pleased to be back doing all that business and being able to record some of the things that I talk about on real clients and showing you how they work. In this particular episode, we're going to look at one of my all-time favorite techniques, the spatula highlight. A super commercial, easy to do, quick technique. Once you master it, you will absolutely love it. The tools that I use in this episode are linked in the description, so if you are interested in that, then do go down there and check it out. So I'm not going to say anything else about this particular episode. I hope you enjoy it very much, and if you would do me the massive favor of subscribing if you haven't already, clicking that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the episode, sharing it with your friends, even more amazing, and chatting to me down in those comments. If you've got any questions, thoughts or feelings, all of those things contribute massively to helping the channel grow. So it is wonderful if you can do that for me, and I will keep making these videos for you. And another massive shout out to all of my Patreons who have supported me to reach my ambition of becoming the Life of Hair Digital Academy, as well as the Life of Hair YouTube channel. Of course, I will have both running simultaneously, and it has been a real honor to get to know some of my Patreons on a deeper level. The people who have commented for a very long time on my videos are now some of my Patreons, and it is wonderful that we can all learn together. So thank you for your support as always, and if you want to know any more about the Patreon, then do drop it in the comment section down below, or you can follow the link down in the description. Have a wonderful week, and I shall see you again in another episode of The Life of Hair. Okay, so this is the starting point for my lovely client, and she has got very light natural hair, level 8. So a nice easy base to lift off of. And I know what a lot of you are going to say, well, it's not super dark, so this technique isn't for you. But don't get me wrong, not every technique is for every client. So unless your client is a natural 6 and above, this technique is not going to get you super light, bright results. You can only really expect to achieve 3 to 4 levels of lift from a technique like this. So it is really important that you bear that in mind. Anytime that you want to go lighter than that, you'll need to pick a different technique. So the first thing that we're going to do with this technique, and we're going to treat it very much like a set of highlights. We've taken a 1 centimeter section from the nape, and we are weaving out our sections, applying our spatula with teeth. The teeth are really important to remove the excess product. Weaving a regular stitch weave and applying the product evenly to the hair is really super important in this particular technique. Now, there is a lot of pre-liner on the ends of my client's hair. So one of the great things about this particular spatula technique is that we can avoid painting those ends very easily. The way that we go about this is as we pull the spatula down the hair and we start to come to the previous blonde sections where it is heavily saturated with pre-liner from previous color, we just simply lift the spatula away from the hair, and we do not overlap our previous color. Now, we do need to meet our previous color, otherwise we will end up with a strange band in the middle of our hair. So changing the saturation from thick to thin as we move down the sections is also very important. In the areas where the hair is darkest, we want to get the maximum amount of saturation into the hair. It is absolutely paramount that you can control the amount of saturation that you apply to someone's hair if you're going to do a freehand technique. Where the hair is darkest, you want the most product, and where the hair is lightest, or when you're meeting lighter hair that is already on the head, you want to be able to feather that product away with lighter saturation. Now, my wonderful client hasn't had her hair colored for a pretty long time. I think she said it was coming up to 7 or 8 months. Due to lockdown, due to unfortunate timings, it might have even been a bit longer than that. Now, my client's just about to have a baby, and I didn't want to give her anything that was going to be heavy in terms of regrowth. So I very much decided that the colour existing in her root area, I didn't want the sort of lift that she had through the ends, because that would given her a definite regrowth and something that she would have needed to top up more readily. So we've gone in with a clay lightener by Redken, and I am literally looking for 2 levels of lift, just enough lift to blend her existing regrowth into those much lighter, cleaner blonde ends. I don't want these highlights to take over. I just want them to be a connection between her natural colour and the existing pre-lightener. As we work through this technique, you will notice that we pretty much retain exactly the same technique throughout. 1 centimetre sections roughly, slicing the top off of that section and then weaving with a regular stitch throughout, and then applying the spatula and saturating heavily where the hair is darkest and feathering it towards the lighter hair towards the ends. This is very important, as I mentioned previously, to be able to do this as we work up the head. At the crown area, we are going to leave out a triangle of hair. This is super important because as we work up the head, we end up with a tiny little triangle of hair right on the top of the head if we do not take this triangle of hair out at this point. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, of course. If you already do that and you're happy to work to that very small triangle, then absolutely be my guest. Do it the way you've done it. There's no right way or wrong way, there's just a way. Now, on this left hand side, I'm going to speed the video up here. As you can see, nothing changes. We're going to do exactly the same thing as we have done on the previous sections. For me personally, this technique is a commercial winner. I charge exactly the same price as I would if I was using foil, but obviously in terms of time, it is a much more time effective technique. Now, there's no less skill involved, because you do have to be a little bit more wary of, when you're using freehand techniques, that you are controlling that saturation really well. And for me, just because it takes less time doesn't mean that it takes less skill. So therefore, we should always charge for our skill, not necessarily because it's a technique that takes less time, reduce the price. Now, personally, I am a big fan of charging for your time and not necessarily for the technique as such. And what I mean by that is, if you want to earn your potential in the salon, then you definitely need to think about how much you are charging per minute, per hour, per day, to get the sort of figures you want to achieve, to get the sort of lifestyle you want. I've got a lot of videos about making money in the salon that I will link right at the end of this, and it's called the 6-Figure Stylist series. It's something I made a long time ago, but it's still relevant even today, and it's something that I will be talking a lot more on Patreon in future episodes. It's really about how you can make the most of earning money in the salon. So we are now on those top sections, that crown section where we took out that little triangle, and we are just going to simply work through this triangle horizontally, doing exactly the same thing as we did previously. The only thing that I would mention is that we are not going to take our weaves from the very edge of the section, because there will be too many light pieces all bunched together from the sections underneath. So we are just taking it out of the middle of the triangle, that you see in front of you. It is a little bit tricky to see what I am saying on this particular angle, so I do apologize for that, but you are basically not picking your weaves from the very edges of the triangle. It really is that simple. And this ensures that you still get the dimension and contrast of having the weave. As far as working through these side sections goes, it is incredibly simple to do. Honest to God, guys, once you get the hang of this technique, once you understand how this technique works, you will absolutely love using it, because it is massively time saving, especially with some of you with COVID restrictions in the salon, not being able to see as many clients in the day as you did previously. These techniques for me are more important than ever, and they are techniques that I have done for, well, many years now. Way before coronavirus was ever a thing, I was doing these more express techniques. Now that was to see more people in the day and earn more money, but now these techniques are really shining through because the same rules apply. I can do less and earn more. So if that's appealing to you as it is to me, then definitely give these techniques a go. So you can see now I'm working horizontally up the head towards the parting. My client has a low left-hand side parting that I am going to simply just work my way up to her parting without taking away any hair or thinking about the parting specifically. It is, for me, quite important that you get the colour in the parting area, because the client can feel like there isn't enough colour on show if you don't work right to the parting. Now obviously clients move their partings from side to side quite often, but as long as you're working with 1 centimetre sections, there will be enough colour in there for you to be able to see the colour going through the hair. It is important that we obviously work with the natural parting. That is something that people ask me a lot in the comment section about natural techniques. And for me, natural techniques like this, or lived-in blonde as some people like to call it now, are my absolute favourite techniques to do. One thing to bear in mind as well here is when you're using horizontal sections, you are using the natural fall of your client's hair, and therefore creating more colour visible, because as the hair falls down, you are getting more coverage of the hair with less sections. Whereas if you use vertical sections, which would be unlikely in this particular scenario, you will need to do more sections to get the same amount of coverage. Diagonal sections do offer a softer feel to every colour that you use them in, but again, you tend to have to use more sections, more foils, more pieces of blonde to get the same results as you would when you're working horizontally with the natural fall of the hair. Now, as we work our way up the head here, I'm just going to slow the video down as we come up to the partings, because it's the parting area that people ask the most questions about. And it is really as simple as it looks. We are simply working to the parting. There is no tricks or special sections around the parting area. We just want to be really, really mindful of our application, as we have been throughout, that we are really controlling the saturation of the product as we work through these sections. The teeth on this particular board really, really help us to control the amount of saturation on the hair. Here we have the colour just before I take it off at the basin area. You can see it's lifted beautifully. As I said, she's very light naturally, so it was unlikely that we weren't going to get to a level 10, even with a clay lightener. And this is the finished result, and I really wanted to start showing you guys inside the back and, you know, through the sides of my colour techniques, because lots of people mentioned it in the comment section. They'd love to see inside the back. When I've done videos similar to this in the past, people have said to me, oh, you can't use bleach without having some kind of foil to separate. It will create blobs and bleeds and all those kind of things. But with the right control of saturation, as you can see, you can get any result you like using a freehand highlighting technique. Just remember to use it on levels 6 and above to get maximum blonde results. But if your client is darker than a level 6, let's say she's a 6, 5, 4, and you want something softer, more caramel, then these techniques work beautifully also. I will be making a video on that at some point in the future when the right client comes through the door, so you guys can see what that looks like too. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, then please smash that thumbs up button, chat to me down in those comments, and tell your friends. Have a wonderful week. I'll catch you again very, very soon.